But that's the thing people don't think about. And you got to remember, the war on drugs was not just a Republican thing. This was, I mean, this was largely a Black caucus initiative during the Reagan administration. Because, I mean, and it's understandable because they saw all this destruction going on in these Black.
Getting crushed. Why were they getting crushed? They were getting crushed. It wasn't just Black people doing drugs.
Right. Well, yeah. Right. But the
it's not a Black problem, that's for sure.
No, it's not a Black problem, but the people that really took the initiative on the war on drugs was the Black Democrats in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And they said, this is a major problem that is just ravaging my district.
Cities,
right.
Neighborhoods.
Right. What do you, I mean, that. It's a brand new problem. How are you going to deal with this?
But they didn't understand the trade-off. And then whenever they started to see the trade-off, then they all backed out of it.
Right. Well, but even then, Democrats and Republicans alike doubled down on it in the '94 crime bill.
Sure.
So it's so you start to look at all this. And you say, okay, well, you start looking at crime rates and this sort of thing. You start looking at incarceration. Start taking all this into account. And you say, okay, the war on drugs probably wasn't the best way to go. Again,
Is that your segue? We're going right into incarceration.
Maybe so, but at the same time, same thing with guns, right? So the more you crack down on guns, the more of a black market you're going to have for it. The more you crack down on immigration, the more of a black market you're going to have for it. So the problem is, okay, we have a black market for these things, and these things aren't always healthy for people. It's not healthy for somebody to be addicted to crack cocaine or some sort of heroin based, a drug. This is not good, or an opioid or whatever. All right, but what are the other solutions to
that?
But
it's their freedom, it's their right, it's their choice.
Of course, right. But you have to start thinking about what are some other solutions to these sorts of things. You got to think a little bit outside the box, because again, that's what we saw with prohibition. When the government intervenes, it is the rare day when something good happens.
No, I get that. I'll say the same thing, but incarceration was not the answer. Other countries have had other solutions beyond incarceration because they found out it wasn't the answer, right? Through treatment, some of them are really radical, like in Denmark, where they actually, heroin's okay. You just go out and shoot up all you want.
Yeah, right.
So
well,
they don't lose their citizenry there, whether that citizen, but then you got to think about, is that citizen valuable or not valuable? When he gets old, can we just let him die of COVID? There's all. How much
Right. Well, right. And that's why, again, I think that government intervention into situations should be a last resort. Okay, we've got this massive problem. Okay. How can we deal with this without us making a law? Because you always have to remember, anytime the government makes a law, at the end of that law is a gun. Period. End of story. Right. So say, for instance, Biden gets into office. This is a complete hypothetical, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point. He gets into office. He has the Senate. Right. First thing he does, he gets rid of the filibuster. He passes a law that says if you were spotted in public without a mask, it's a $5,000 fine. Mm-hmm. That's the law he passes. I go out. I'm like, screw you. I think you're stupid. This is a stupid law. I'm not wearing a mask. And I used to do this with my seatbelt. Because I thought that was an infringement on my rights. But anyway, so I do it. So I go out without. I get fined. Right. I get fined.
A little slower than some folks. It's all right.
I get fined $5,000. Right. I'm supposed to show up in court on a certain date to da-da-da. I don't show up in court. I don't pay the fine. What happens? They come arrest me. They're going to come arrest me.
You've elevated.
When they come,
right. You've
elevated. And when they come to, right. And when they come to my door, what am I going to do? I'm going to pull out my 12-gauge shotgun.
Now you've elevated again.
Exactly. Right. But to enforce that law, that's the links. So you always have to remember, every law that's created, at the end of the day, the only way to truly enforce that law is with a gun.
So I think it's a societal. I think I agree with you in the United States. So I'll give you the same example. Okay. Whenever I moved to Taiwan, when I got my residency visa put in my passport, it says right on it, trafficking of drugs, illegal narcotic or illegal drugs or arms is punishable by death.
Yeah.
So
They're not playing around over there. Yeah.
They don't play around. And you know what? I can walk around in the streets anywhere I want to over there and I know I'm not going to get shot. But if I'm going down the street here and I get some asshole behind me, I'm not going fast enough, start road raging me. Do I confront him? No, because I might get shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get out, and I'm going to have to be armed, and I'm going to be ready for a shootout. It's going to be okay, corral, because here we are, right?
Right.
Same thing.
Well,
I walk down and I get proposition for drugs. I can go downtown Cincinnati and I can buy anything I want. Sure. If I get that in downtown Beijing or Taipei, people would look at you like, what? They'd be calling the cops on you that you're even trying to solicit for something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they don't even wear guns. How can I like that with no guns? How can we have citizenry like that?
All right, so a couple things. Let me ask you just an aside question. There's got to be an underground in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. There's an underground there.
There is.
Not
the movies about the triads and stuff.
Whatever. I'm just curious
about of some kind. But you know what? It's such a small percentage of people, and it never touches the real citizens. I mean, I lived over there for years. I never saw one gun the entire time I lived in Asia.
So what's the question? The question is, what's the solution to that? Is it to crack down, or is it to see my thing is that particularly Southeast Asia, China, etc. The Eastern countries are you don't want to screw around in Taiwan. I know that I've heard enough. Yeah. You go to jail and you might and if you push it too far, they might put you, they might line you up and shoot you.
So how come it's a deterrent over there, but it's not a deterrent here? Because if you do the same things here, you get jail, but it's not a deterrent. But people over there don't do it because it is a deterrent. What's the difference?
Well, so maybe just for the interim, you ever seen Judge? You ever read the comic book Judge Dredd or seen the old Stallone film? Where the cops are they're the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah.
So we could go that route. So if I catch you with cocaine that's so it's not just possession, but possession with intent to distribute. So you have enough to distribute. I just kill you on the spot. I think some people
would the Philippines, right?
Okay, so I don't think that's a good policy.
In the Philippines, they pretty much gave open season.
Right, and that's the thing is again, any law that you write has to have a gun behind it. It's just the question is how quick are you going to pull that gun out? So again, with the whole scenario,
that because out of all the Asian countries I went to, going to the Philippines was the only place I actually saw guns because the police have guns and they have semi-automatic weapons. They got the little semiotics, like even the guards and things and guards at the hotels. And it's really weird, right? To see that many weapons. It's like being in France. France has got a gun. You go to when you first get off the airplane in Charles de Gaulle, you see people walking around with machine guns and you go, wait a second, I just came from a civilized country. No, but you'll never after you leave the airport because I don't know, they I guess look out for certain things, I guess terror or whatever that it is. But like I'm saying, but let's get back to the question. So they don't have the guns and they don't have the drugs in Asia that we do here. Some of them even are manufactured over there and they're shipped over to here. Maybe I digress. But how come the citizenry themselves don't demand the drugs like the United States? And how do the people here not see it as a deterrent to go to prison? Because when I looked it up, I looked it up because I knew we were going to talk about this. When I looked it up, we got 2.1 million people in the United States in prison right now, or in some kind of incarceration. I won't just say prison, okay? That's 700 people per 100,000. That's a lot of people. Think about it. Our tax dollars have to support those people that are in prison. Your numbers come out about this. You got state prison there.
That's the site you say. Prisonpolicy.org is a good site. It really is. I mean, they're definitely left leaning, but their statistics are correct.
Everything is left leaning. It's okay.
No. Pretty much everything is. But I mean, again, I'm not a. All right, I'll bring this back up in a second. But I'm a person again who I don't want as many people as we have in jail. I think that's a problem. What is it that we have so many people in jail? Okay. So the couple questions is, as compared to China. Well, I'm not so sure that's a helpful question, because I think China.
So I looked it up. Okay.
Okay.
Their incarceration per 100,000 is only 120. And that's including the million Uyghurs. Okay.
Okay.
And
All right,
we're at 700, right?
Right. Well, so all right. So, but I'm not sure that's a helpful question, because the way China enforces law is not the way we enforce law.
That's right.
Again, I think China, even though their police might not carry guns, I think they're going to be a lot more quicker. They're going to be a lot quicker on the draw than we will, as far as imprisoning you in brutal circumstances that you just throw you in a dungeon and you'll never see the light of day again, or they'll just kill you. One of the two.
Watch a lot of movies, but anyway, go on.
No, I'm not. I don't know. I mean, so, but I don't think that the reason China has a lower crime rate than we do is because they're more libertine on their laws. Because they're not, right? I mean, you can't go. I mean, go knock over a bank in China. Sell drugs. You do all this.
You're gonna get the same kind of. You're gonna get the same kind of response from law enforcement. You're gonna get arrested. You're going to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. If you're lucky. No,
I mean, I saw people picked up. I mean, I even saw the military, because where I lived at was very close to Embassy Row in Beijing when I was there. Mm-hmm. And I saw a protest outside one of the embassies by Chinese people, and the military came in. They surrounded them. They brought in buses. They hauled them all away. They were in and out in 15 minutes. Literally picked up 1,000 people plus in 15 minutes. They were gone. So those people were all booked. They probably got something on their record. They probably don't, their whole points have gone down by now, I'm sure, because they're protesting.
Well, if they're lucky, and maybe a lot of them, and probably the ringleaders, are probably never to see the light of day again. We don't know for sure, right?
No, we don't know.
But I don't think that's the kind of country we want here.
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get on a bus. That was all I cared about. And I had guys with me.
No. What I'm saying is I don't think we want to live in a country where we have protesters protesting whatever they're protesting, and the government comes in, surrounds them, puts them on a bus, and you never hear from them again.
That's one example, but let's go back to the bank example. If I knock off a bank in China and I knock off a bank here, I'm expecting if I get caught at either one, I'm going to jail. I don't know what that penalty is going to be. If it's going to be 5 years, 20 years, or maybe it'd be life, depending on what I did. If I knocked it off with a gun, if I shot somebody while I was knocking it off. I mean, there's all kinds of extenuating circumstances that could happen and make your penalty more and more and more. But why in the world, this is back to my question,
right?
Why do we have 5 times as many people per capita incarcerated in the United States versus China, including the Uyghurs?
Yeah, well, I think
I think that's another discussion, but anyway, I'll include it.
Right. Well, the Uyghurs situation. Yeah, maybe we could just that's something I can't get my mind around. That's just something completely foreign to me, because again, we don't incarcerate people in this country for ideas. We just don't. No Western country does that.
No, we can talk about that another day, but let's go back.
That's another day. But why? So that's, and I think it's an important question you're asking. Why do we have so many people in jail? Well, there could be several answers. One is like you might suggest, our punishments aren't deterrent enough. So we need to have stricter punishments for certain violations of law.
Maybe it goes the other way. Maybe we have the punishments are too large and people aren't getting out as quick, and they should get out earlier, so I can bring our population down.
Well,
I'm just going back and forth.
Possible. Right, that's possible. That's possible. And that would be the tact I would take, is I would say, okay, again, when you create laws, right, illegal immigration, guns, drugs, at all, right? When you create laws, what you have the potential for, the trade-off there is you create a black market. Now you have to manage a black market. So you have to say, okay, this is a big enough problem that we have to create laws to curtail this behavior. And when we do that, there's going to be a black market that emerges that we're going to have to manage as well.
Right.
That's what you have to look at.
But I don't understand, because obviously they got a black market in Asia too for those items.
Right.
But they still don't have as many people in jail. So why do we have such a big black market?
Well, okay, so here's another.
It's all about supply and demand.
I don't know.
About consumers too, right? Consumers
Don't,
of drugs.
Don't let me sit here and pretend that I have the answer to this, because I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just giving you possibilities. One is our laws aren't strict enough. All right. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people will cite things like the war on drugs, the crime bill of '94, mm-hmm. Et cetera, to and say and Giuliani's. I mean, Rudy Giuliani's crackdown on the mafia in New York, very successful, et cetera. Yep. They're going to cite these sorts of crackdowns as, hey, this is what we need. We need more law enforcement, stricter laws. And what we're going to see is that over time, in the long run, what we'll see is a decrease in the prison population and a decrease in crime. That's what we're shooting for, right?
When I check my watch, how long's the war on drugs been going on with all these big,
30 years, 100%.
30 plus years even,
okay, so right, but
so again, every years we're supposed to see this
right. Okay, so no, I'm not offering you a solution. I'm just telling you, right? I'm just telling you that, okay, so maybe the war on drugs is going to take 75 years before we start to see a decrease in prison population and a decrease in crime. That's what we're shooting for, right? That's what everybody wants. I've never talked to anybody who said, yeah, we want the prisons to be full just because we want the prisons to be full, unless there's some, evil capitalist pig who runs it.
In private prisons.
100%. Yeah. Now there are all those people. Yep. There are all those people out there. Okay. But I don't think they're strong enough force to drive that idea. Possible. Okay. And I'm against for-profit prisons. I don't like private prisons.
But they do have a lot in DC. So
no. Well, and that's the thing is, my thing is with private prisons is, if the federal government or the state governments are going to make laws, then you people have to pay for these people to be locked up. You're not going to, nobody else is going to make money off this. This is not going to be you got to take the profit motive out of that. I completely agree. That is not a free market issue, in my opinion. Okay. So anyway, but there's a good argument.
We got to make the sentences harsher or something until we finally get to this breaking point that we beat everybody into submission.
Right.
You're never going to use drugs again, so it dries up the market. Is that the
right? So that's the argument. Is okay? So the prison population is very high. So right now the prison population is very high.
Right.
Obviously, right.
100%.
But the crime rate is way low. Mm-hmm. Crime rate is astronomically low.
It's been dropping
precipitously.
Areas too. I mean, crime, everything's been dropping.
Right. I mean that's the thing. So again, like I told you last time, I'm a student of the 60s and 70s. The crime rates in New York, you do not want to be living in New York City.
No.
In the 70s. I mean, it was an extremely dangerous place. I mean, dangerous in the extreme. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you look at those statistics just in New York City alone and across the country. You've got prison populations here, and then all of a sudden the crime rate it just does an inverse.
Right.
So what the tough on crime crowd is going to tell you the solution to this is we keep doing this.
Okay.
Because guess what happened? We had all this crime. Now we got all the criminals in jail. Mm-hmm. All right. We've got a low crime rate. We just hold what we got. And eventually the prison
people die or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Right.
We get rid of all those bad apples. Right.
Right. Okay. So, and then you've got folks like me who tend to lean a little more libertarian, where I think our laws don't make sense. Especially when it comes to drugs, guns, immigration.
Mandatory sentencing.
Mandatory sentencing. I think our penal code is way too complicated. It's ridiculous that somebody like O.J. Simpson can get away with murder, and one of his black brothers that murdered somebody in Chicago.
Yeah, I hope they find who killed his wife.
Me too. But one of his black brothers in Southside Chicago who does a drive-by is not getting, he's going to jail for life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I don't like that. And on top of that, I think the war on drugs, and I think we're starting to slowly move in that direction. You're starting to see states pass laws that are like, okay, you want to possess drugs, you want to do drugs. Okay. We don't like it. It's not good for you. We can warn you against it, but again, that's.
So you think there's more drugs or less drugs available now than there was 10 years ago?
Well, I don't. Yeah, that I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure about. But I think what you get when you create a black market is you get violence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, you can look at these statistics again. I mean,
I agree with that. You and I
right.
agree on no drug laws.
Right. So I mean, so you pull this up, and I mean, you're looking at people. So you've got this portion of the pie here with drug related issues. Same thing in the federal jails, and most of this crosses over. But the overwhelming majority of this, you're talking about violent crimes, property crimes, public order crimes, which are violent crimes as well. Now that this graph is breaking down non-convicted to convicted, but
they're still in jail. They're still in prison.
They're still in jail, right? And they're in jail for violent. The overwhelming majority of the crimes you're dealing with are again those crimes of person and property. I mean, that's the overwhelming majority of people are in jail for those reasons. Now, that's not to say that old boys, down the street here who were shooting each other out the other night weren't involved in a drug deal gone bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many of those violent crimes are drug related? I mean, you take Michael Brown, a justified police shooting. How did that all start?
Okay.
That all started because he was trying to rip off a convenience store so he could grab some cigarillos so he could do his dope.
Mm-hmm.
Is that drug related? I think so, because that's how that all started. Yep. Right? I mean, whether you again, in my opinion, the Michael Brown shooting was completely justified. But whether you think it's justified or not, that all started because he was trying to grab something where he could smoke his dope.
Yeah.
Right. So it was was it drug related? Yeah, it was drug related. Okay. Was it was it a violent situation? Had he been arrested instead of shot, would he he would be in jail for violent crime, for violent crime and for robbery.
Well, that's like so. The guy that dies of COVID that's fat. He really, it's really a fat problem. It's not a COVID problem. You know what I'm saying?
That's not what I'm saying. No, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Again, I'm not offering solutions here. I'm offering possibilities.
There's comorbidities and there's criminal action maybe too. But when it got down to it, he didn't go in there to do a drug deal. He didn't go in there to buy drugs.
Right.
He went in there to shoplift. And he
right. Well, that's right.
The cops knew he shoplifted, and he was shot to death over the shoplift. Right.
Right. Well, he shot to death over reaching for the police officer's gun and trying to, Yeah. So anyway,
we're talking about your escalating thing. Whenever
Right. That's right. Well, and yeah, maybe we can one day talk about police violence. I think that'd be a good topic for us to talk about. But, but again, so again, the two solutions are crack down or loosen up.
Right.
And if you want to talk about Trump, what do I think Trump did? I think Trump loosened up. I mean, name another president that pardoned a convicted drug dealer. I mean, he did.
Do you think Trump did that just to grandstand for the?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think he did. But at the same time, I mean, they took that first step for whatever the reform was. I don't know if it's even going to do anything. But however you want to look at it, it's like, okay, so we saw this, right? And that's a really interesting piece. It's really high crime rate through the mid 70s into the 80s. And then the crackdown came and we saw this. Now we have this gigantic prison rate. We got this low crime rate. So I'm torn. So I don't know.
If we can maintain those people in there, if we can keep those people in there until they finally die, because they will,
like that, yeah.
And now we have people going in, so our population should continually start to go down now, right?
Right.
I mean, that's logical. It should go down. But our population isn't really going down. It's like the highest it's ever been this year, right?
Right. Well, and I think
we haven't hit the peak yet.
Yeah. Well, that's possible too. And I think the other thing you have to look at is are things like, okay, why is it that blacks are so overrepresented in the prison population? What's going on there? Is it it's racism? America's a racist place. That's why. I think that's bullshit. I don't think that's why.
They're not the majority, but they are overrepresented. Yes.
well, they're not. No, they're definitely not the majority. But I mean, so they're blacks are about 13% of the population, but by percentage, they're somewhere in the 50s, close to 60.
Yeah. I guess I don't know about that. I think that's another topic for another day.
Sure.
But I got another question for you.
Okay.
We all grew up, and even not just you and I, the generations before us all grew up with a certain set of values. The Judeo-Christian values that were imparted upon us by our ancestors, the laws were based on, and all that kind of thing. How in the world, with all of that going for us, how in the world can we end up with the most incarcerated people in the world?
Yeah, well,
we're supposed to be the ones with the best ethics and values and all the other things,
right?
And we end up with the most incarcerated, because people shouldn't be doing bad things, because inherently we should be good people, because we know right and wrong, right?
Right. That have individual values. Well, so again, it comes back to what you think is going to produce a well-ordered society. I tend to lean libertarian on that, right? Because this is something that tugs at my heartstrings. I don't want people in jail. I think people can be redeemed. All right. I believe in that. I believe if you give somebody a chance, a real chance, they can be redeemed. Mm-hmm. And the way our justice system works in the United States, I mean, black, white, yellow, doesn't matter who you are. Mm-hmm. And this is so I think the common factor that I see with incarceration in the United States is socioeconomic and not racial. So you see a lot of poor, disadvantaged people in jail. That's who you see.
I agree with that.
So my belief is that if you were able to give those people real opportunities to have a life, mm-hmm. I think you could, this is the wrong word, but save like 20-30% of them. That's mm-hmm. significant. I think the rest of them, yes, they're going to be.
What you're saying is that if we raise the floor on those individuals that are impoverished, so that they didn't have to resort to a criminal activity to survive or to get to wherever they want to be, whether it's survival or not, but to get wherever they want to be. If we raise that floor within our society, then we would have less crime.
100%. And I think what raises the floor, and this is where you and I disagree fundamentally, is what raises the floor is the market, not the government.
The market takes a couple hundred years to make all this happen, and the market
well, but okay, again, I'll tell you, market sucks. Market doesn't work as efficiently as you want it to, but you can't manipulate it. Mm-hmm. You can't manipulate it, and every time you try that, again, every time you try that, it has negative results.
I'm listening, but I don't agree completely. Okay.
I think I hear you. But again,
provide can make a big difference in communities. And I'm not just talking about inner city black communities. I'm talking about, pick on the West Virginia guys. There's a whole bunch of poverty in West Virginia that if we raised that, if we did UBI in West Virginia.
Yeah, and I don't think UBI is the answer, and that's why that's one reason. So I'm just before I die, what I want to do is I want to start a trucking company where all my drivers are former felons.
Okay,
that's what I want to do, because I think that is the kind of thing that raises the floor for people. Because I don't think
for them to work and make a decent living.
100%. Because just giving people money, right? I think that this is my personal opinion. I don't have any data to back this up or anything, but say for instance, I was in a pickle and I needed $2,000, and you, my loving cousin, came along and said, "Hey Matt, you know what? I'll just give you the $2,000. Mm-hmm. Poor Matt, he's, here, just take the $2,000." Or I had some guy come along and say, "Hey, I've got to get the steel moved from here to there, and I'll pay you $2,000 for the week." Right. What would make me feel more like a man? Go haul the 100%.
I hire a lot of people here at the farm, and I had a homeless couple come by last summer, and
cool.
They just happened to be walking by, and the gal shouted out to me and said, "Hey, do you have any work for us? What can you do?" and they ended up working here for, I don't know, 6, 8 weeks, something like that.
That's awesome.
And I don't pay them a ton of money, but at least they had enough money to get a motel room. I mean, their car broke down, so they had no money, they had nothing, but at least they could, because they were living in a car that was broken down in a church around the corner from them. And at least they could get a hotel room, they had a place to shower, they come to work, they had food, and they both got jobs. They both got jobs beyond me. So good for them. I hope they're doing well, right?
Right.
It's just because everybody needs an opportunity. So it's not, I don't think of the UBI as a handout because I'm not going to give it to just certain people. If I do the UBI, I want to give it to everybody. Bill Gates is getting it. Jeff Bezos is getting
it. Right. No, I mean, I get it. I mean, I get the idea. I just think that. So again, one of my first things. So you probably know I used to be a pastor, and the first church I was at, we had a bunch of coke addicts that came to our church, recovering coke addicts. And heroin addicts. Some of them recovering, some of them struggling or whatever else. And the last thing you ever want to give a coke addict or a heroin addict is money. The last thing. I mean, you never want to give them money. I don't think
you're enabling a behavior, but the problem is that if you deprive the behavior by not giving them money, then do they ever really learn?
Well, no. So what our approach always was to try to get them to think about, to think about what their role is in life. What, you try to help them find purpose. I think that's the thing that, that's why I don't like UBI. I don't like reparations. I like telling people, find a purpose, find a mission for your life. All right. I mean, so you gotta, you're 37 years old. You just got out of jail for a drug charge. You have 3 kids by 3 different women, or 6 kids by 4 different women, whatever it is. I want you to come over here. Your new purpose in life is you're going to provide for those children and help raise them. All right. And I'm going to, yeah.
But now you're imparting your values to them.
Okay, I am, because, well, in a sense, but
you want them to do good, and they want your support, so they'll do good for you to get your support as long as they can. But you have to go beyond that. You have to dig in, I think, to what they want out of their life. Maybe they don't even care about their kids. And there's people that give their kids up for adoption.
Okay, so
baby mama gets married to somebody else.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. But again, you're right. Yes. If I had the opportunity to do that, I would certainly impose my values on people.
Yep.
Because I don't think it's good for children to not have a dad. I think that's bad. Okay.
And I understand where you're coming from with it. I'm just kind of giving you a check that you can't impose other people's values you can't impose your dreams onto other people. What you need to do is dig down into the person and find out what they're.
I understand that, but I think at the I'm convinced that at the core, again, this goes back to the Judeo-Christian roots of and I believe obviously that God created us, and He created us in a certain way. All right, so whether you believe in God or not, doesn't matter.
Right.
If I appeal to the way I believe that you were created, I'm gonna elicit a personal response from you.
Yep.
So in other words, if it's not just my value, it's just like, I'm trying to impose my value on it. What I'm trying to do is reach in and find those values that are already in you, and draw them out of you.
That person's in another place in life than what you are.
Well, that's true. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying
they're not ready for that whole value.
No, I hear you. I'm not saying it's easy or simple. It's none of those things.
It's very kind.
But I do stand on the claim that people need purpose more than they need money. That's what they need. They need purpose, because if you have purpose, if you find hey, I am here for a reason. I exist for a very significant thing, which is this purpose, right?
Yep. I like the way you said. I'll tell you why, and I get exactly what you're saying. Because a person has to have purpose. They have to do what they do good, what they do well at, and maybe some people are social workers, some people are teachers, some people are ditch diggers. It doesn't matter what they do. They have to do what they feel good about when they get home in the evening and they kick off their boots and take a shower, whatever they're going to do. They have to feel like, I'm me. And that's why I say that, the UBI and stuff lets them explore that purpose and lets them, because a lot of people live on what their purpose pays. And right.
Well, no, that's true. And I think, and again, that's so right. Yeah. I mean, my purposes are, my bottom line purpose is to be a husband to Jen and a dad to the children. Sure. I mean, that's my bottom. Right. And so, but at the same time, I'm reasonably intelligent guy. I've got a lot of time to follow the news. I follow American religion, so I do, I do a podcast with you. I do, so, so sometimes people ask me, so, do you get paid for podcasting? I'm like, no, I got to do my day job for that.
Right.
but,
get podcasts.
Right. So, and,
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just, so I'm not completely, I wouldn't say I'm completely against the UBI. I would say I'm 90%. I think more the bigger thing that's needed is for somebody to feel like, their existence matters, and throwing money at somebody doesn't cut the mustard with that.
Whenever you're at home, whenever you're a kid and you're living at home and your parents always want that same thing for you. I get you completely. They want you to do what you want to do and something that matters and all that type of thing. And they support you on those things, right? Like with my kids, they were in band, they're in orchestra, played sports, all that. You want to support them in everything that they want to do because they have to have those experiences so they can decide what they want to do, first of all. Or maybe they'll meet other people that they find other experiences, because you never know where you're going to go in life. But what happens with us in America, and I think this is a great injustice, and I see in other countries that I don't see in other countries, is, our kids turn 18, 20, 22, or whatever. You give them a boot to the curb, although that isn't happening as much now. A lot of them are staying home longer. But you give them a boot to the curb, and then they got to go figure this out. So they're struggling to make it, and they're also struggling to find what they want to do. And some of them are going to do really well. I mean, some of them you're going to get that UBI for the rest of your life, okay, but the UBI is not going to make a difference because you found your purpose and you're going to be a Jeff Bezos. That's fine. But there's going to be a whole bunch of people that want to volunteer to go do something. You know what I mean? I see that all the time. People are always asking me to go volunteer to do stuff. As you get older, people want you to volunteer more. I don't know why. If you got all this time and money, and
I think we should make all the kids volunteer for. See,
they're young.
Maybe that's
people want you to volunteer more, and you have to say no sometimes. But the idea is that provides them avenues as adults, as young adults, and even through their adulthood, if they picked an occupation or whatever they're going to do, it provides them still that they're taken care of, and that they're not going to. And I think it goes along with the criminal justice system, is that they can adjust their living style, and I think they can adjust their living style to live within their means of what they can make doing whatever they do, along with UBI. And I think it's also a big help with keeping families together too, because I think a lot of families are split up because of financial things. And if you had a mom and a dad that are both receiving UBI, that goes a long ways compared to a single mom that gets UBI, and that's it. And having a mom and dad, I think a lot of those, because believe it or not, I know love is the great equalizer and all that kind of stuff. But to be honest with you, we live in that capitalism that you always tout, and that lays on our emotions and our relationships and all the other stuff too. Right. And that's why I think you got a big fix on a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, so again, that's where I would, so again, I've said this before to you, if we said, okay, let's just revamp the whole entitlement thing, because that's 2/3 of the United States economy, the entitlements, and it is.
No. We support our military and give them $1 trillion a year.
That's about 1/4.
No, take away the Social Security. Don't call that an entitlement because we earned it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to get to entitlements? Let's go to real just entitlements. All right. That's what I want to hear about.
Okay. All right. I'd have to look that up, but I think so.
All right. Let's put Social Security back in because actually, your Social Security people are going to get a UBI also. They might get a little bit more than that depending on how much they work.
Well, and that's what I would say is, something like, okay, let's take all the people 35 and older. You're grandfathered in for the Social Security. You're grandfathered in.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of you, you're going to get UBI.
Yep.
And again, I am absolutely I just can't find another corollary. So I am convinced that the welfare system as we have it now incentivizes illegitimacy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
we've discussed this before. I don't agree completely. As you don't make anybody having babies. Yes, you get more money if you have another baby, but I'm going to tell you it costs a lot more than what you're going to get to be able to raise that baby.
Okay, so right. So but then you have
proposition.
Yeah, but right. Well, okay, and I think there are other factors that bear on the situation for sure. Not the least of which is just a general lack of sexual morality in the United States. To say that, okay, the right thing to do is marry a person and have children with them and be responsible for raising their children.
Your values on other people. Okay.
Right. No, but the thing of it is that the results are objective. The results are objective. A child raised with a mother and father, objectively, I mean, it's not even close. The sociological research done on this,
I'm going to
shows that
two parents has a better opportunity than a child raised with one parent. And I'm not saying mother and father. I'm saying father and father, mother and mother.
Okay, we can get into that another time.
Because I think it's an economic thing mostly. I know there's a lot of emotional things that go along with it. There's a lot of learning that goes along with it.
Right.
But I think most of that advantage is economic.
It is, yeah, and I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, what we have attempted to do is make again. So if you want another book to read, here's one. Read Jason Riley's "Please Stop Helping Us." Okay. So Jason, again, my guy, at the Wall Street Journal, Manhattan Institute, Jason Riley, black man. Love that book. I love the title. Please stop helping us. Okay, if you just stop helping us, we'd be fine. And his big thing is he again is convinced that the majority of the disparities that exist between the black community and the white community as far as prosperity goes has a lot to do with family structure and culture. Now that is super controversial.
I think so.
Because that's the big debate, right, in this daytime. Because so on one hand you have folks like Riley, Soule, Glenn Lowry, John McWhorter, these types of guys that I tend to listen to. And then on the other hand, you've got Ibram X. Kendi, you've got Beverly D'Angelo, you've got Ta-Nehisi Coates, who say, no, the disparities are completely due to the fact that we've got an unjust, corrupt system that was built on the backs of slaves, and that's what the problem is. Okay, so that's the big debate right now, right? Yeah. But
I wouldn't go that far, but I think there's a lot of economics to go with it. I think
there is. I mean, right. Well, the question is, so we've got the history. I mean, we got this massive history of racism in this country, right? And blacks today are still suffering from that history. I agree with that 100%. But what's the way out of it? What's the way out of it? All right. And that's where the big debate lies. I contend, again, just based on the research, and guys like Soule and Riley and Lowry and these guys that have looked into this, that are scholars at Ivy League schools. I mean, these are big time guys, right? That what really needs to happen is hey, or Shelby Steele. You want to look at Shelby? You want to go watch something tonight? Go look up if you got Amazon. Go spend $20 and buy What Killed Michael Brown. Watch that documentary. What what's the answer to the racial injustices that blacks have suffered in the United States?
Mm-hmm.
It's giving the agency to our black brothers and sisters because they're strong enough, they're smart enough, they can do it. They don't need help from us whiteys. They're strong enough. They don't need us to come. They don't need to come in. We don't need to come in with our reparations or government
anything that's driven racially. And
right.
I know there's a lot of poor white people out there too. Sure. And I know that the system is so complicated and difficult. Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there trying to game the system beyond, so it makes the system even worse. And it's a full-time job just making the system, even trying to get anything out of the system. I mean, I quoted to you last time that only 4% of the funds that go to Arkansas actually go to people. The other 96% go to learning, and some of those are even devoted to churches that provide learning services around the values that you're talking about.
Right. Well,
I just had a hard time with that. And we talked about this a long, long time ago when you first started coming up to the farm once in a while, is if you're going to give a handout to somebody or a hand up to somebody, just don't put the strings attached to all that, because they know what they need. They know if they give it to somebody in Africa, they might pull their money and put a well in, or they might goats, so they've got goat milk, or something that we don't even think about. There's no reason to have some complicated solar system that's going to do, because if it ever breaks, they don't have a way to fix it. And, there's all kinds of things that go along with that. Just give them the cash they need and help them grow. Help them prosper.
Well, and that's where I'd argue to your claim that a UBI might make some sense. Mm-hmm. With again, no complicated welfare thing where, okay, if you're single, then you get this much, but if you're married, you get this much. Nope.
18 years old, you start getting a check on your first, and then you get a check for the rest of your life, $1,000 a month.
Okay.
Or 1,200 or whatever that number is.
Right. And so, and again, this is something, I don't know if it was Friedman or who it was, but somebody a good economist did a study on this, that if we just did that, you said, okay, let's do a universal basic income and get rid of all this nonsense, all this bureaucratic baloney that has to go on with our safety net, it would cost way less. Yes. Okay, fine. I'll make that deal. Deal. Okay. Done. You just cut the federal budget in half. Fantastic. No, I'm with you.
We made a substantial decrease in the federal.
We put a dent in it. Right. And like you say, we're giving agency to people. Hey, here's money. If you want to go out and buy drugs with it, you want to get drunk with it, okay. You want to destroy your life, that's your decision. But here's your money, and that's the deal.
And there's no enforcement or anything, right? It's not like they have to show up with their WIC card or anything like that and try to buy certain things or not buy other things. It's like everybody's equal, right? The only other thing that they put on the UBI is you can't encumber the UBI, like as part of a car payment or something like that. You have to you can't look at, like, qualifying for a loan. You can't look at your UBI as part of your income, which I think is because you should be out there working. If you want stuff, you should be out there working for it. The UBI give you that hand up, so you know what, you can order pizza if you want to. It's okay,
Right. Well, and so and I am a strong believer in human agency. So again, that whole idea, I loved that. I don't know, it was a TED talk or something you sent to me way back. That talked about, just drop the cash on the people.
That's right.
Let them just let them decide what to do with it. Hey,
that's trying to pay all these people that manage the fund, trying to figure out where the money should go, and don't pay any of those people.
Yeah.
Get one guy to management, he goes out and he spreads the cash out across the village, and it's done.
Write a bill that's 1 page long.
That's done. Right. There you go.
So see now you're talking my language. Now you're talking smaller government. You're talking.
Let's come up with a word there. We'll call that cruise-ifying.
Yeah. I mean, you simplify this stuff. You cut the bureaucracy out of it, and I mean,
my goodness. I mean, you're finally coming around. It only took me 2.5 hours, but it's taken me a few weeks to get.
Well, I don't know about coming around. I am a person who um, I'm a big believer in work. I think men are made to work,
I think every,
and
I
yeah,
think men and women are.
yeah, and
But
so right,
I think that they should have the license to choose the type of work and develop the skills that they want to. Because some people are mathematicians and some people are ditch
yeah,
diggers, not taking anything. You can be a mathematician ditch digger and choose to ditch dig or be a
right,
mathematician. It's up to you. And you should have that opportunity in life. And I think it gives everybody more agency to control their life, right?
right. Well, and again, that's something I'm 100% for is individual agency.
Mm-hmm.
And
But I want them to
and
wear a mask, okay?
well, so long as we don't have individual agency to decide when, based on the information we've gathered, whether or not to wear a mask, right? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So
um,
we need to
yeah,
cut it off here pretty soon. But
yeah, for
I
sure.
wrote on my little notepad here, I put UBI, and I put a little check next to it. That means you're on board. So we can talk
Well, I
healthcare.
I I would make that deal with you. I would make that deal with you. Like again, that's the stipulations I would set up. I would say, okay, you're 35 and older, you're still good for Social Security. Otherwise, 35, and welfare wise,
What's your magic
I don't
number?
know. I would,
Well,
yeah, I think,
18,
well,
18 year old.
I don't know. I think you have to come up with a fair number. Okay, so if you've been working for 17 years and you've put into Social Security, you should
What's
get
that
that
got
money
to
back.
do with it? I'm not talking about Social Security. I'm talking about UBI. UBI, everybody gets it.
Yeah, but
Everybody gets it. Duh.
okay, all right, but you can't just take people's. I mean, the thing of it is that you, when you start working, the government starts confiscating 7.5% from you and 7.5% from your employer for Social
That's
Security.
yeah, that's different.
Okay, so if you've been working for 17 years, I think
Hmm.
that's a fair number. You should get that money back.
Well, you only have to work for 10 on Social Security. I've already got mine in. I got my 10 years in, so I'm done. And I already missed my first date to apply for Social Security. I'm going to let it keep going for a while before I finally apply. But
Okay.
let me tell you
Yeah.
about that. I think everybody gets UBI from the time they're 18
Well,
on.
no, and I would
Every
disagree
adult.
with that. I would say no. I wouldn't say you're cut off from UBI at 35.
Yeah.
I
And I
would say
think
you. I would
any
say you.
do
Right.
any work that you do above and beyond UBI, you still get the same credit for Social Security. So
Well, no, I would sunset Social Security. That would be the deal. You want to? All right. You
Social
want to make a deal
Security
on?
savings plan that I earned. I've been
No,
working since I was 14. I earned that.
okay, fine,
It's not
fine.
as
You get. Yeah, you're like what 80 something like that. You should get it. You've been working for. You.
not yet, but
I'm
I'm
saying. I'm
forward.
saying if you've been working for 17 years, which is age 35,
Uh-huh.
you should still get the money that you and your employers put into Social Security. You should still get that. However, if you're age 35 or under, we're going to sunset Social Security on you, and you're going to get the UBI
Oh,
from
you want to
going
sunset
forward.
security?
Sunset it
Then you always got to have some. Why? Why sunset Social Security?
because Social Security is screwed up. It's not even there. The money doesn't even exist
But
anymore.
if I'm an artist living in a tent in the mountains somewhere, I still get my UBI, but I never earn my Social Security. So when I get older, I never get the Social Security. But if
No,
I'm
you
an
get,
guy and
but
I
you get,
work my whole life
but
to
you
make
get the but you get the UBI when you're so. In other words, you're age 18 to 35.
yeah,
So hey, we're good. And I would even say let's give $2,000 a month.
uh-huh.
That's the UBI. You get that starting at age 18. We just starting you a check for $2,000 a
You know,
month.
you got to have incentives for people to work, right? And for people to continue to work too. And
Okay,
Social Security is not a big incentive anyway. I'll be honest with you.
right.
Nobody I
So
know of anybody
right.
that can live on their Social Security check.
So if you want to make so here I would say if you're
But I
gonna
would not sunset Social Security.
okay, well that's the so you have to erase your check mark then because I'm gonna sunset Social Security.
All right,
If you
I'm
want
going
to
to
if
put
you want to
a
make the
question mark after it. No, with the
yeah
sunset.
if you want to make the deal with me on UBI,
No.
we got to figure out some way to sunset Social
Old
Security.
guys have a whole different feeling about Social Security because we've been paying it forever. Literally,
Well,
when I
no,
was 14 and I started
and
working,
you should get it, and
and I was getting minimum wage,
you 90-year-olds should get your Social
and I
Security.
was
I agree with that.
$1.60 an hour minimum wage. I remember, and I thought
Okay,
that was big money back then because I didn't even quit my paper route. I still had my paper route at the same time, for another year afterwards, after I got my job.
Yeah. All the old folks from age 35 on. That's so that's how you got to sunset something. You got to say, okay, we're not gonna pay. You're not gonna pay into Social Security anymore, and you're not gonna get Social Security if you're this age and below. You're gonna get the UBI.
Well, they're doing the same. They're screwing me over on my Social Security anyway, because everybody used to you could get early Social Security at 62, then you get it at 65, and then at 72 you could get a little extra Social Security if you wait till 72. The problem is now I fall right in that goofy age group because they moved the number up from 65 to 67. So to get full benefit, I got to be 66.
Right. Well, and that's them trying to juggle the numbers because
anyway. So maybe I should just say, all right, whatever.
Well, right, yeah. So that's the thing is that I mean I think that's what in all seriousness, if you're going to do something like a UBI, you got to look at sunsetting entitlements. You've got to.
Social Security is not an entitlement. Social Security is something that we put in the bank and we've earned. Don't say it's an entitlement.
Okay, all right. So, but again, right. I don't know if you're going to go with the UBI, that's something I think you've got to sunset. You got to sunset that, and you've got to bring in this new thing. I mean, because I'm not, if you're talking about taking a UBI and sticking it on top of everything else that's there right now, including welfare, Social Security, everything else.
Social Security is out of the equation. Social Security is not an entitlement. Social Security is self-funded.
No, but the government's paying you interest on that.
But Social Security is self-funded. You're paying
it's not. No.
And in our 7.5.
The thing of it is, Social Security is not self-funded because the money's not there.
Well, it was.
Yeah, I know. But our government likes to spend money. They like to.
Yeah, I know they took it all.
They like to make it rain. They like to make it rain on everything else because what gets you elected is how much are you going to make it? How much are you going to make it rain on me? All right, and so that's that would be my deal. I would take that deal. You want to do UBI? We got to sunset Social Security.
This is obviously the difference between the baby boomers and the millennials because you don't appreciate Social Security like we do.
Well, who knows if I'll get Social Security, but yeah. So I mean, we've got to figure out how to cut spending. I'm for that. We got to figure out how to we got to figure out how to cut the bureaucracy on our safety net. Our safety net's way too bureaucratic, way too complicated.
On our military machine that we have. How about that?
Nah, we can keep that where it is. I'm happy with that.
Okay. Talk about something that has.
I'm not completely happy. I'm not completely happy with it. I think there could be some things we could do with the military and how that's run and operated that would favor the soldiers a lot more. Because again, that's another piece that you and I mean, we might agree on this. That I think is driving a lot of the let's get into a war. Let's go fight somewhere. It doesn't matter what for. Let's just go fight. Because why? Well, because Lockheed Martin stands to make and they're
and all their subsidiaries and all their parts suppliers and all the people that they eat restaurants and everything. It's all complex, right?
Yeah. So I mean, just like I'm with you on that. The Eisenhower's line.
I want that done.
The military-industrial complex. However,
you and I can debate not even get that far. Let's debate the value of war.
Yeah.
Can you really forcibly tell other people what to do anymore? I mean, back in the old days, we'd conquer a whole civilization and they'd be ours, and we'd take the land, we'd take the oil, we'd take the people, and they would have to do what we do. That's not the case of war anymore. What is the value of war, and what is war now? Let's just backing it up, right? And I don't think what we're doing now is called war. I think that I'm going to throw it out there. I think that we're the big terrorists of the world right now.
Well, I disagree with that, but
okay. I knew you would, but I just throw it out there. You're going to keep going, aren't you, tonight? We're going to keep going.
No, we got it. No, let's wrap it up.
But we got to do this whole thing about the war and about the military complex.
No,
because the two biggest things that we don't. Everybody says, all these entitlements are what costs us the most money. That's BS all the way around. The first thing is our military complex. The second thing is the interest on the money that we borrow. Who are we paying that interest to? I'll tell you what. If our interest rates go above about 3 or 4%, tell you what, our budget for our country is going to go crazy. There's a reason that it's really low right now and artificially low.
Yeah.
Because we owe so much money to ourselves. If we forgive debt to other countries, can we ever forgive debt to ourselves? And what would that do to our money markets? Right. Those are the kind of things we need to hit too.
That's complicated stuff. And I mean, there's good points to be had in all that. I just, in the midst of all that, gathering everything up we've talked about today, I don't think moving toward a more socialistic type of economy, society is the move. The government's not going to solve this. The market will. Take time, be painful. We'll have to make some decisions we don't want to make. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to perpetuate the prosperity that we've so enjoyed. That's never been enjoyed ever in human history.
That's a great closing argument. I'm just going to say I agree.
You're going to say you agree or disagree?
Disagree.
Okay. All right. Well,
I would. Have these is because we're flesh of the same flesh and all that kind of stuff, but we still think in different ways and enjoy talking about it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, again, that's what defines me as a conservative is, okay, what I do is I look at the past and see what's worked.
Mm-hmm.
And what's worked is liberal free market economies. That's what's worked. Mm-hmm. And so until you can come up with something,
but you like liberal free markets economies, and I'm a liberal, and I like what they're doing too.
I think I do think you're a liberal, but I think there's a difference between being a leftist and a liberal. All right. And again, this goes back to old school continental political philosophy, because when you call somebody right wing on the continent, right, that means you are approaching fascism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way to run. That's the way to run a government, through fascism, right? That's what Hitler, Mussolini. Okay, right? No. But that's what you're talking about on the continent.
No.
All right. When you're talking about left wing, you're talking about
Mussolinis and Hitlers over in Europe right now.
No, you don't. But when you're talking about left wing on the continent, what you're talking about is Stalin and Mao, right? Mm-hmm. So this whole idea of liberalism, of mm-hmm. liberal democracy, liberal a republic, liberal representative democracy that is backed by a capitalistic economy, mm-hmm. that's not even in the conversation over there in at the turn of the century. I'm talking about
you're right.
I'm talking about the 19th and 20th century. So you're talking about Woodrow Wilson. Wilson came along and said, "What the hell are we doing over here? This is bullshit." Yeah, we either need to move towards fascism, which is the direction really the country moved in a lot of ways from the turn of the century right up until Hitler started doing mm-hmm. his thing, and they said, "Oh, maybe fascism isn't the way to go." Right. And then we thought, well, maybe communism is the way to go. And then all of a sudden, Alexander Solzhenitsyn came out with the Gulag Archipelago, and we found out what communism was, and we found out, okay, well, what's going on, with Mao in China and Pol Pot in Vietnam, et cetera, et cetera. We're like, maybe that's not the way to go either. Right. So we're going to hold what we got here.
We need to lean more to the left on these things, more to the liberal side.
But it's not. But it's not.
The rest of the world is doing pretty darn good right now.
Yeah, so are we. We're we're the foundation of all that. Okay. So
remember, we're only 4% of the world over here in population.
I know, but again, we're arguably
look up something after we get off here. I want you to look up. GDP for the United States as compared to other countries, and I want you to look up how we determine GDP and how other countries determine GDP. Look at the formulas, because whenever you look at it, like the way we tout in our news and our politicians, we're so far ahead of everybody else that nobody else can ever catch us, and we run the entire world and all that. Okay, but I want you to look at it how other people and how GDP is calculated in other countries, and then see how we compare. And you might be surprised how close, or groups of countries like the European Union or the Asiatic countries or whatever, how close they are to us, or maybe even surpass us in a couple of ways. So,
well, there's, I mean, there,
anyway, I just for
yeah.
the, but
Yeah.
I'm just, you're always saying we're the biggest, we're the baddest, we're the best, but it was just an
well,
experiment.
no, we're the most, I wouldn't say any of that. I would say we're the most prosperous.
Mm-hmm.
We're the most prosperous. I mean, there's really, I mean,
For some of us.
What's that?
For some of us, we're the most prosperous.
Well, for some of us, but again, the poorest among us compared to really anybody else in the world
outweighs a whole bunch of poor people when we're talking about prosperity.
No. I'm talking about on an individual basis.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have that kind of opportunity for prosperity anywhere else than in the United States.
You just don't know. You do. Well, I'll talk about it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and again, I don't know how else to measure that, and if there's some other ways of weighing that out, where hey, you coming to America is a really bad idea. Where you really should be going is Taiwan. Where you really should be going is China. Where you really should be going is Canada. But I think I think what bears it out is the poorest among us live like kings compared to pretty much anybody else in the world. And well, again, Steven Pinker, Enlightenment Now. You can read that book too. I think I've mentioned that before. And he really details with all the data how Western liberal capitalism has lifted all boats. You want to talk about raising the floor? Capitalism sucks, but it's the only system in history that has proven to do that.
Right.
And until so the thing of it is if you want to try something else, you better have a damn good plan before I'm going to sign on to it.
So Google a few things. All right. You Google GDP, how it's calculated. It's calculated different depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
GDP per capita for countries. Where do we lie with other countries? I think our health, our age, our life expectancy as compared to other countries. Just some of those things that you kind of compare between countries, right? Yeah. And the opportunities and how rich countries are per capita and that kind of thing. You'll find the United States doesn't hit number one on any of those.
They don't hit.
They're close. They're in the top 20, but
at least not the top 5. Well, maybe I'll go back and review Pinker a little bit and try to
I'm trying to beat up the United States. It's great. I live here.
Right.
I'm not throwing away my passport anytime soon.